In a prestigious magic academy, magical talent is the most important thing. Those who cannot use magic if they want to survive here have only one option: defeat monsters in the dungeon. Like that young boy fighting monsters on the 7th floor all by himself. Unable to use magic, he has to rely purely on physical strength. He believes that with his melee skills, he can still survive in this world that worships magic. In the capital, home to Rigerton Academy, class is in session, studying the chemical properties of mana. The instructor, Edward, calls on the male lead, Wind, for a practical exercise. Seeing him hesitate, Edward mocks him, telling him to just do what he learned. Wind grits his teeth and tries, but nothing happens. The class is silent for a moment, then bursts into mocking laughter. Edward signals for order and calls Wind someone who's all theory but weak in practice. No sooner said than Shoner waves her wand, creating a huge flame, using the excuse that he wanted to help because Wind seemed unwell. Edward immediately extinguishes the flame and emphasizes to the class that magic is absolute in this world. With magic, you have everything. Those who only have knowledge but cannot use magic don't belong here. When class ends, Wind is teased by Shin's gang as usual. Shin knows Wind goes to the dungeon to earn points by killing monsters. Just then, Colet appears to save the day. She bluntly criticizes Shin's gang for relying on numbers to bully her friend. Before leaving, Shin reminds Wind that he can't become a great mage just by being kind, and his dream of becoming a Magia Vander is just an illusion. Colet and her cat Kiki Firebug not backing down. She doesn't understand why Professor Edward has to turn Wind into a class clown. But Wind accepted long ago that he can't use magic. Having a cute girl like Colet care about him makes him feel very lucky. His casual remark makes Colet blush and stammer. Wind scratches his head, saying he was taught from a young age to compliment girls, and it's a fact that Colet is cute, so he's not exaggerating. Poor Colet gets redder and redder, finally making him shut up. She tries to compose herself and maintain her noble lady image, but then notices Wind staring blankly at the sky. Today, the great Magia Vander are once again maintaining the barrier in the sky. Long ago, when humans were still in darkness and didn't know the sky, the world was constantly threatened by invaders from the heavens. 5 great mages stood up, drove the enemies into the sky, and brought peace to the world. The title of Magia Vander was given to those who inherited their great staves. Cold wonders if the Ice Princess's staff is watching them today. Wind is sure it is, because the person standing at the highest point is a girl he knows very well. He has a friend named Elfaria. They used to talk about things in the sky, like the moon and the sun, so they promised that someday they would stand together at the highest point of the tower. And becoming a Magia Vander is the only way for them to see the sunset with their own eyes. Even though it was just a childhood promise, Elfaria achieved it. Her outstanding talent made her the youngest Magia Vander in history. Wind is just a guy who can't use magic, still at the bottom of society, clinging to that old promise. Though he's weak now, he still believes that one day he can stand proudly beside her. His determination is strong, but when Professor Werkner yells at him, he's still scared as usual. The professor is furious that Wind dared to sneak into the 7th floor of the dungeon. If he keeps this up, he'll eventually be in danger. Luckily, Wind admits his mistake, so Werkner's anger subsides. Since he defeated the monsters himself, the professor decides to give him 2 points. But business is business. Werkner sincerely advises Wind to give up on becoming a Magia Vander. To reach the highest floor of the tower, he needs a huge number of points from 3 sources: theory, practice, and practical combat. Someone who can't use magic like Wind and obviously can't get practice points. That's why he risked his life for practical combat. However, Professor Werkner thinks earning points from just that isn't enough. But for now, he reminds Wind that he needs to graduate first. He's lost a lot of points on theory tests, so he needs for more points this week. With only 2 days left in the week, Wind hurries to find a monster in Donrian that can help him earn points. Out of options, Werkner hints that there's a monster called Baskerview that appeared on the 6th floor. No one has defeated it yet. As soon as he says it, Wind runs up and hugs him in thanks. Outside, Shin overhears the conversation and is overjoyed, thinking he's finally found an opportunity to kick Wind out of the academy. Meanwhile, Wind is excitedly entering the 6th floor dungeon. He's fought Baskerview before, so he needs to get those 4 points tonight. But Kiki isn't happy because last time his butt got burned by that monster. Wind encourages Kiki, saying he just needs to sniff out the enemy. He'll handle the rest. Just then, Shin and his gang arrive in the dungeon. Seeing his 2 underlings wanting to talk, Shin yells, asking if they've forgotten who he is. They quickly change their tune, praising Shin's talent, which calms him down. But before they finish, one underling is smashed against the wall. The sound reaches Wind, who rushes over at lightning speed. He finds Shen throwing fire magic at a monster. Wind recognizes it as a Sentinel, one of the 5 great monsters from the Age of War. Sentinels should be on deeper floors, so how did it get here? Shen's magic has no effect due to the huge level difference. Wind knows this guy is about to die, so he thinks about jumping in to save him. But then he remembers how Shen always bullies him at school. Just as he's about to retreat, the image of his dear friend Elfaria appears. She always believed Wind was kinder and more good-natured than anyone. He still keeps the glasses she gave him. Now, Wind decides to put them on. Because he can't run away if he wants to be worthy of standing by her side. He wants to be as strong as a sword to withstand this monster's terrifying power. At the same time, Edward has gone to Professor Werkner to report that some noble kids have gone into the dungeon. So they need to send rescue. Hearing the kids are on the 6th floor, Werkner tells him not to worry because Wind is there. He activates a crystal ball to broadcast the intense battle below. Wind is constantly exchanging blows with the giant monster, using his agility to easily slice off one of its fingers. Enraged, the monster swings down, tearing up the ground to prevent him from blocking. Still, this doesn't trouble Wind. His swordsmanship is excellent, combined with his agile movements, allowing him to easily stab it in the back. Shen can't believe the person before him is Wind. Even Professor Edward, watching through the stone on Kiki's head, is astonished. Professor Werkner explains that Wind has a mysterious power like a Mish, but also the strength of a dwarven sword. With his sharp senses and experience, he can easily read incoming attacks and counter. Though he can't use any magic in this world, Wind is a top-tier physical fighter. He then uses the Sentinel's own blade to counter its magical attacks. Facing the enemy's magic, he's not afraid and delivers a final blow, beheading the monster in an instant. Wind walks out of the smoke, leaving Shen fuming with rage. Edward can't accept this reality either and leaves in frustration. The next day, Wind goes to Professor Werkner's office to get his 10 points, overjoyed. 5 years ago, Wind first stepped into the academy amidst a sea of whispers from other students. When he met the principal, he demonstrated his superb swordsmanship in front of Professor Werkner. Though Werkner was worried because Wind couldn't use magic, the principal found it interesting. Wind wondered if he was strong enough to climb the tower and reach Elfaria. The principal advised him that with continuous effort, he surely could. When Wind left, she felt that a swordsman aiming for the highest position was something to look forward to. In class, Werkner explains that to become a Magia Vander standing atop the Mercedes Tower, one must be recognized as a High Council member. There are 2 ways. First, create a new type of magic. Second, accumulate 7,200 points at the academy. Only a few achieve the first method, so most choose the second. However, Werkner thinks the students in front of him might not even graduate, let alone become High Council members. So after each class, he gives them extra assignments. Colet always finds his assignments extremely difficult. Werkner constantly has them do practice tests and train magic using the harshest methods. Wind always fails the practical part, so he doesn't dare complain. Still, Wind thinks Werkner is a good person because other teachers hardly care about him, especially the annoying Professor Edward. On the way, they see a group of students excitedly discussing how Shen defeated the monster on the 6th floor. Meanwhile, Shen himself is silent, knowing it's not true. Just as he's spewing, he bumps into Wind. He immediately grabs Wind by the collar, threatens him, and leaves in anger. Colet asks what's going on, but Wind just brushes it off. At the same time, Professor Edward is vehemently asking Principal Carol to expel Wind. She doesn't understand why he would do that when Wind is in his final year. He argues that a magic academy doesn't need warriors. Hearing this, the principal looks over Wind's record and sees his written exam scores are very good. His views on magic are also quite interesting. Ignoring the fact that he can't use magic, he's a capable student. Moreover, the academy's goal isn't just to train Magia Vander, but also to cultivate knowledgeable talents for the future. However, Edward knows Wind is only aiming to become a Magia Vander. Seeing his stubbornness, the principal asks Edward to find the most suitable path. If Wind doesn't pass the test, then Edward can handle it. She trusts that the man known as the Dark Serpent Midge, the one closest to the position of Magia Vander, can surely assess Wind's abilities himself. Meanwhile, Wind is tidying books with Colet. His sword is stored in a locker because the academy doesn't allow weapons. He can't take it to the dorm because his roommate won't allow it, so he leaves it here. They go to the study hall. Colet sees Wind diligently working on dwarven history and is impressed by his dedication. Wind has to work this hard because losing even 1 point means losing his chance at the High Council. Also, he feels a connection with the dwarves. They always persevere despite facing powerful mages. For them, the only way to defeat magic is to never give up. Just then, Edward appears and tells Wind to follow him to the training ground. There, he says he'll give Wind a chance to fix his practical score. The request is simple: Wind must land a single blow on him. If he succeeds, he gets 5 points. If not, he must pack his bags and leave the academy immediately. Edward won't tolerate a useless person dreaming of becoming a Magia. Vander, meanwhile, the principal summons Professor Werkner to show him Wind's test. Just as she allowed Werkner to observe Wind, she wants to respect Professor Edward's judgment as well. Wind needs to be recognized and prove himself worthy. However, Werkner thinks choosing Edward is too harsh. Though he hasn't become a Magia Vander yet, Edward has climbed to the top of the tower. Edward is now toying with Wind using low-level dark magic, yet it's astonishingly powerful. Still, Wind is determined. He tries to circle behind for a sneak attack but fails. His kicks are useless against the absolute defense. He gets hit and falls to the ground. Kiki is also affected by the spell and sneaks away. Edward has only used a spell so far, Fire and Shield. Then he uses a spell to activate multiple layered magic. Wind tries to run but can't escape the attack range. Colet, watching Kiki get hurt, keeps hinting at Wind's sword. She realizes something's wrong and unlocks it. Wind is now being completely overwhelmed by Professor Edward. Edward believes that if he can't surpass him, he has no right to dream of that goal. He talks about the Battle of Kazarn, where the dwarves gathered 10,000 troops to rebel. But the mid-side needed only one person to destroy that entire warrior army. That is the rule of this world. Edward steps on Wind's head, loudly telling him to give up that stupid dream. But Wind stubbornly defends his position, annoying the professor. Wind clenches his glassers and declares he wants to be by the side of the one he loves. Edward pauses for a moment, then mocks this reason as utterly foolish. To Edward, it might be nothing, but to a devoted simp like Wind, it's the greatest happiness. Just then, Cole runs up and throws Wind his sword at the critical moment. With his sword in hand, he's ready for anything. Edward attacks, but his magic is slashed away. He increases the scale and Wind is engulfed in dark flames. His body wants to run, but he knows this is his only chance to break through. Just as Professor Edward launches his attack, Wind charges in and slashes the magic away. The truth is, the Battle of Kazarn had a sequel. After the dwarven leader fell, all his comrades still charged forward, landing a blow that made the mage acknowledge their warrior spirit. That moment made Wind believe that a sword could reach higher than a staff. He uses the ceiling, then crashes down, shattering Edward's defense. Before the professor can react, Wind's sword touches his cheek. Edward immediately turns away, coldly saying, "I've added 5 points to your score." Now Wind can finally faint in peace, collapsing into Colet's arms. The two spectators in the principal's office are satisfied with the match. Wind's final slash surpassed magic, proving he's truly a resilient person. Before Elfaria left for the tower, she gave Wind a pair of glasses. He called after her, promising that no matter the obstacles, he wouldn't give up. Elfaria, tearfully, said she would definitely wait for him to come to her. Then turned and left. In the present, Wind is busy delivering newspapers in the slums when he trips. But his reflexes are so fast they defy gravity. As he picks up the last paper, he sees news that Elfaria has just invented another new magic, her 12th. Seeing this gives him even more motivation. He also notices a new mission issued to all students, proposed by Elfaria herself. Without hesitation, he runs back to find his roommate Rosti to ask him to prepare some magical items. There's no extra class today, so Wind plans to enter the dungeon immediately. This mission is to collect magic stones from monsters on the 4th floor, so he needs the improved items Rosti made. Before he leaves, Rosti stuffs a bun into his hand and wishes him luck. According to the great Mids Mercedes, everything in the world originates from the dungeon. Therefore, those with magical power must explore its mysteries, turning the unknown into their own knowledge. Sure enough, Elfaria's mission attracts a crowd. Suddenly, the dungeon shakes from a huge explosion caused by Shen. Despite his to underlings' constant praise, Shen isn't satisfied. The monster Wind once defeated alone is far stronger than this. Meanwhile, Wind is impressed by the power. He then changes direction, going deeper to find his target. Jumping down a cliff, he immediately encounters 3 giant penguins cornering a female student. Without hesitation, he swings once, cleaving all 3 monsters in half and saving her. She's surprised to meet a purely physical fighter in the dungeon. Wind quickly asks if she's hurt. She thanks him and introduces herself as Iris, a 6th-year student. Meanwhile, Werkner is using Professor Edward's magic as an example to explain magic creation. It sounds simple, but in reality, advancing this way is nearly impossible. Another student exclaims that Elfaria is truly amazing. Even Werkner admits he's never heard of anyone creating 12 types of magic like her. Throughout history, Elfaria could be considered one of the greatest mages. The students marvel, saying ice magic must be the strongest now. Colet doesn't hide her admiration either. However, her friend notices she's jealous of Elfaria, afraid wind will be stolen. Hitting a nerve, Cole jumps up and denies it. But she says it too loudly and immediately gets yelled at by the teacher. Back on the 4th floor, Iris asks if Wind is the one rumored to be useless. Wind is a bit embarrassed but asks if she thinks he is. She pauses, then shakes her head. She can't look down on someone who just saved her life. Iris senses that Wind, though unable to use magic, is a thoughtful person. She explains she's here on a mission to support Elfaria's research. Her goal is to become one of those who protect the sky. Wind understands that dream because they don't know what the real sky looks like. What covers this world is just a huge barrier, a fake sky created by the overwhelming power of the Magia Vander. Legend says that when the barrier disappears, the world will once again fall into disaster. Students like him take on missions not just for their dreams, but also believing they're helping hold up the sky. Iris then tells Wind about a time she was in danger in the dungeon, thinking she was about to die, when suddenly all the monsters turned to stone. That was when she met the real Elfaria. The memory still excites her so much that she dedicates her life to her big sister. While Iris is rambling, Kiki shows Wind something on the ground. Frostwalkers always leave small ice fragments, but these are much larger, indicating a giant one ahead. It might be where Iris's detection magic can't reach. Wind thinks magic is powerful but not absolute, especially in Donrian. So he trusts his experience and gear more. He immediately grabs Iris and dodges a Frostwalker ambush. Seeing its huge form, Iris recognizes it as a Frostrake, a high-level species worth 6 points. She advises retreat because physical attacks are useless against it. Only long-range magic works. But Wind tells her not to worry. He's beaten this type many times. He preps his gear, then flashes toward the monster as it fires ice beams at him. He cleverly jumps behind it, then speeds down, losing it. Next, he dashes to its left, moving constantly to wrap a rope around its big body. The Frostrake's weakness is fire, so Wind just needs to light the rope, triggering a bomb he planted. The huge explosion blows the ice monster to smithereens. Seeing all this, Iris realizes the rumors were wrong. She's conflicted about what to report. Wind calls out that they've collected plenty of magic stones, so they can go back. After returning, Iris drops her disguise. She pushes open a door to meet the Magia Vander. They're all worried because the enemy behind the barrier is still targeting them. They need exceptional individuals to prevent the prophecy. Rio asks if Iris, as a watcher, found anyone useful. She immediately recommends Wind for the tower, even though he can't use magic. Alino sighs, not wanting another lowly person around. Rio doesn't care as long as they're youthful, even a dwarf. They start arguing, and Kurios has to intervene. The upcoming Midge Festival might be a chance to decide later. As they leave, Iris praises the guy Elfaria mentioned as very interesting. Elfaria gazes at the crystal she obtained, eyes sparkling, saying she's still waiting for Wind here. To enter the High Council, students need 7,200 points out of 1,000. From there, they can aim for the Magia Vander position. Shin uses fire magic to incinerate two golems at once. Colet opens a spatial gate, dropping rocks on their heads. They easily pass the test with 9,889 for Shin and 7,340 for Colet. In contrast, Wind's opponent constantly pressures him. He tries to circle behind for a surprise attack but gets distracted by the crowd's taunts, taking a hard punch from the golem and falling. Other students easily destroy golems with their superior magic. The blonde girl Lihanna uses lightning magic for 10,100 points. Blue hair W uses wind magic for 10,075 points. The most impressive is someone whose magic creates ice flowers on the golems' bodies. With a single command, they all freeze instantly. His name is Julius with 10,048 points. He approaches the two above him, determined to surpass them this time. He tries to use an ice flower as a challenge, but Wind blows it away. These three are the Academy's top students, all exceeding 10,000 points. With his current score, Wind can barely graduate, let alone enter the High Council. Dejected, he accidentally catches Julius's mocking, merciless words. At lunch, Colet encourages Wind to try to get noticed at the Magic Festival. With his current points, he has no chance at the High Council. Rumors among students say there are cases of people with under 7,200 points still being chosen for the tower. Rigerton Academy's Magic Festival is held every 2 years with many events for high-level mages to scout talent. So this is a life or death competition. It's not an exaggeration to say that the path to the High Council is decided here. Among them are the Staves, Thunderbolt, Spirit, Flame Emperor, and Ice Queen. Though the Light King's staff won't participate, the current Magia Vander will still appear. That means anyone has a chance to be chosen by them. But Wind thinks people like them surely wouldn't notice someone who hasn't even earned enough points to graduate. Hearing that, Colet mentions the Watchers, who are responsible for evaluating and selecting worthy talents for the tower. They're considered one of the Academy's 7 legends. Wind plans to only help organize this year, not compete. He still remembers the disaster of his second-year participation when the crowd threw trash at him. Colet admits that year's festival was a nightmare, leaving Wind traumatized. She also heard that this time, many recruits from other cities will attend. If they can't make it to the tower, students still have other pots. About to say more, Colet suddenly notices a secret staircase behind the lockers. It leads to an area where some students gather to bet on the upcoming Magic Festival. There, Wendy is surprised to see Shin. His 2 followers brag that Shin is bitter because his odds are lower than the top 3. Shin yells at them, drawing attention. Colet laughs, realizing he's also interested in Lihanna like other boys. Shin quickly explains his written exam wasn't good, but in magic, he's confident he can match the top 3. Then he storms off in anger after the last class. Colet wants to follow Wind into the dungeon to hunt monsters, but unluckily he has to work at Gina's place, leaving her disappointed. At the far end of Rigerton lies the slum, Flomland. As usual, while Gina cooks, Wind serves beer to dwarfing customers. Old Man Donald comments that the kid is too eager for work. He delivers papers in the morning, goes to school at noon, and works at Gina's at night. Wind laughs, saying he has no scholarship, so he has to work hard to pay tuition. Donald mentions he could earn a lot at the Magic Festival, but Wind declines. He's grateful that Rosti came to help since an employee quit. Other dwarves say Wind alone is worth 2 or 3 people, so Gina shouldn't worry. While cleaning, Rosti asks why Wind works for the dwarves when they can't pay him well. Why not ask Professor Werkner for a better job? Wind doesn't want to bother the professor, plus he really likes the dwarves. They're lively, love to drink, and are skilled. Most importantly, they always welcome Wind warmly. Unlike others, just then, new customers enter, snobbishly complaining about how dirty the place is. Seeing Wind behind the counter, Julius laughs mockingly. A useless guy with the dwarfs is a perfect match. Donald stands up angrily but is held back by a friend. Julius looks down at him, saying dwarfs are lowly beings from another world with no right to resist. When their territory was destroyed by sky invaders, they had to flee to the human world. Dwarfs are heavily discriminated against. If they dare to lay a finger on a mage, their position would be immediately threatened. That's why Donald is furious but has to just watch. But the more they endure, the more they get pushed around. The beans just served are criticized as disgusting, smelling of dwarf sweat. Wind takes off his apron, walks up to Julius and demands he take back his words. The dwarves' beans are the fruit of their hard labor on barren land. Not something for Julius to mock. The guy kicks the plate of beans onto Wind. His 2 underlings try to act tough but are immediately grabbed and slammed to the floor. Wind finds Julius's scum worse than animals. Insulted, Julius pulls out his wand and attacks, but Wind dodges. He strikes harder, pinning Wind's hands to the wall, then places his wand on the flower on Wind's chest, about to finish him. But Wind's determined gaze makes him change his mind. He wants to humiliate him at the Magic Festival first. Wind breaks the ice, grabs Julius's wand, and accepts the challenge. Julius excitedly says if Wind loses, he must leave the academy immediately. Wind isn't afraid, setting the condition that if he wins, Julius must apologize to Donald and everyone else on the day of the Magic Festival. The atmosphere in the square is more lively than ever. Scouts also mingling in the crowd, starting their search for potential candidates. Principal Karan is impressed by the tower's quick work. The festival opens with a dragon riding race, Lihanna in the lead, almost certain to win. Iris says this year's festival is also attracting majors from outside the tower. Sure enough, Lihanna once again proves her position, maintaining her record. Then Iris excuses herself to cheer for her favorite senior. Meanwhile, the others are excited because they've registered for the crown attack category. The reason, Cold invited Shen. He's thrilled, thinking she's finally chosen him over Wind. But when he arrives, he sees Wind and nearly chokes with rage. To enter this category, the team needs over 21,000 total points. So Colet invited Shen simply to qualify Wind. Realizing this, Shen furiously yells at Wind for overestimating himself. Remembering how Wind humiliated him in the dungeon, his anger flares even more back at the arena. The commentator introduces the person next to him as the Academy's most hated teacher. The man known as the Dark Serpent, an obsession of countless students. The young man is annoyed, not understanding why he has to sit next to someone so unpleasant. Edward immediately turns to remind his future students to behave before entering his class now. The main event of the day, the Crown Attack category. The Spirit team simultaneously chant, creating separate areas for the competition. The terrain includes volcanoes, lakes, deserts, grasslands, and jungles. Unlike previous events, this one requires teams of 3. Teams start from the outer edge and move toward the central square, where a crown is placed. The team that gets it wins. However, the challenge comes not just from the harsh environment but also from countless traps set by the professors. Teams can take the shortest route to the center and are also allowed to hinder opponents. Therefore, this is considered the festival's most intense competition. Professor Edward adds that this event focuses on practical combat ability and dungeon-conquering skills. Scouts pay special attention to find outstanding candidates. Currently, Wylan of Team 12 and Julius of Team 9 are the centers of attention. Team 6 also draws attention with very low odds, including a promising talent, Shen. And the supposed useless one, Wind. All teams start in the desert area. Seeing Wind at the start, Professor Werkner is shocked and wants to advise him not to be reckless. Despite the ridicule, Wind is determined to win. Unable to persuade him, Werkner lets him choose his own path. As the event begins, teams immediately encounter traps. First is the Golem Forest. The camera shows Wind of Team 6 charging forward and the crowd laughs. In practice tests, he couldn't even scratch a golem, but this time, Wind uses Colet's magic to create the stone fists. Seeing all this, Iris realizes the rumors were wrong. She's conflicted about what to report. Wind calls out that they've collected plenty of magic stones, so they can go back. After returning, Iris drops her disguise. She pushes open a door to meet the Magia Vander. They're all worried because the enemy behind the barrier is still targeting them. They need exceptional individuals to prevent the prophecy. Rio asks if Iris, as a watcher, found anyone useful. She immediately recommends Wind for the tower, even though he can't use magic. Alino sighs, not wanting another lowly person around. Rio doesn't care as long as they're youthful, even a dwarf. They start arguing, and Kurios has to intervene. The upcoming Midge Festival might be a chance to decide later. As they leave, Iris praises the guy Elfaria mentioned as very interesting. Elfaria gazes at the crystal she obtained, eyes sparkling, saying she's still waiting for Wind here. To enter the High Council, students need 7,200 points out of 1,000. From there, they can aim for the Magia Vander position. Shen uses fire magic to incinerate two golems at once. Colet opens a spatial gate, dropping rocks on their heads. They easily pass the test with 9,889 for Shen and 7,340 for Colet. In contrast, Wind's opponent constantly pressures him. He tries to circle behind for a surprise attack but gets distracted by the crowd's taunts, taking a hard punch from the golem and falling. Other students easily destroy golems with their superior magic. The blonde girl Lihanna uses lightning magic for 10,100 points. Blue hair W uses wind magic for 10,075 points. The most impressive is someone whose magic creates ice flowers on the golems' bodies. With a single command, they all freeze instantly. His name is Julius with 10,048 points. He approaches the two above him, determined to surpass them this time. He tries to use an ice flower as a challenge, but wind blows it away. These three are the Academy's top students, all exceeding 10,000 points. With his current score, Wind can barely graduate, let alone enter the High Council. Dejected, he accidentally catches Julius's mocking, merciless words. At lunch, Colet encourages Wind to try to get noticed at the Magic Festival. With his current points, he has no chance at the High Council. Rumors among students say there are cases of people with under 7,200 points still being chosen for the tower. Rigurden Academy's Magic Festival is held every 2 years with many events for high-level mages to scout talent. So this is a life or death competition. It's not an exaggeration to say that the path to the High Council is decided here. Among them are the Staves, Thunderbolt, Spirit, Flame Emperor, and Ice Queen. Though the Light King's staff won't participate, the current Magia Vander will still appear. That means anyone has a chance to be chosen by them. But Wind thinks people like them surely wouldn't notice someone who hasn't even earned enough points to graduate. Hearing that, Colet mentions the Watchers, who are responsible for evaluating and selecting worthy talents for the tower. They're considered one of the Academy's 7 legends. Wind plans to only help organize this year, not compete. He still remembers the disaster of his second-year participation when the crowd threw trash at him. Colet admits that year's festival was a nightmare, leaving Wind traumatized. She also heard that this time, many recruits from other cities will attend. If they can't make it to the tower, students still have other pots. About to say more, Colet suddenly notices a secret staircase behind the lockers. It leads to an area where some students gather to bet on the upcoming Magic Festival. There, Wendy is surprised to see Shin. His 2 followers brag that Shin is bitter because his odds are lower than the top 3. Shin yells at them, drawing attention. Colet laughs, realizing he's also interested in Lihanna like other boys. Shin quickly explains his written exam wasn't good, but in magic, he's confident he can match the top 3. Then he storms off in anger after the last class. Colet wants to follow Wind into the dungeon to hunt monsters, but unluckily he has to work at Gina's place, leaving her disappointed. At the far end of Rigurden lies the slum, Flomland. As usual, while Gina cooks, Wind serves beer to dwarfing customers. Old Man Donald comments that the kid is too eager for work. He delivers papers in the morning, goes to school at noon, and works at Gina's at night. Wind laughs, saying he has no scholarship, so he has to work hard to pay tuition. Donald mentions he could earn a lot at the Magic Festival, but Wind declines. He's grateful that Rosti came to help since an employee quit. Other dwarves say Wind alone is worth 2 or 3 people, so Gina shouldn't worry. While cleaning, Rosti asks why Wind works for the dwarves when they can't pay him well. Why not ask Professor Werkner for a better job? Wind doesn't want to bother the professor, plus he really likes the dwarves. They're lively, love to drink, and are skilled. Most importantly, they always welcome Wind warmly. Unlike others, just then, new customers enter, snobbishly complaining about how dirty the place is. Seeing Wind behind the counter, Julius laughs mockingly. A useless guy with the dwarfs is a perfect match. Donald stands up angrily but is held back by a friend. Julius looks down at him, saying dwarfs are lowly beings from another world with no right to resist. When their territory was destroyed by sky invaders, they had to flee to the human world. Dwarfs are heavily discriminated against. If they dare to lay a finger on a mage, their position would be immediately threatened. That's why Donald is furious but has to just watch. But the more they endure, the more they get pushed around. The beans just served are criticized as disgusting, smelling of dwarf sweat. Wind takes off his apron, walks up to Julius, and demands he take back his words. The dwarves' beans are the fruit of their hard labor on barren land. Not something for Julius to mock. The guy kicks the plate of beans onto Wind. His 2 underlings try to act tough but are immediately grabbed and slammed to the floor. Wind finds Julius's scum worse than animals. Insulted, Julius pulls out his wand and attacks, but Wind dodges. He strikes harder, pinning Wind's hands to the wall, then places his wand on the flower on Wind's chest, about to finish him. But Wind's determined gaze makes him change his mind. He wants to humiliate him at the Magic Festival first. Wind breaks the ice, grabs Julius's wand, and accepts the challenge. Julius excitedly says if Wind loses, he must leave the academy immediately. Wind isn't afraid, setting the condition that if he wins, Julius must apologize to Donald and everyone else on the day of the Magic Festival. The atmosphere in the square is more lively than ever. Scouts also mingling in the crowd, starting their search for potential candidates. Principal Karan is impressed by the tower's quick work. The festival opens with a dragon riding race, Lihanna in the lead, almost certain to win. Iris says this year's festival is also attracting majors from outside the tower. Sure enough, Lihanna once again proves her position, maintaining her record. Then Iris excuses herself to cheer for her favorite senior. Meanwhile, the others are excited because they've registered for the Crown Attack category. The reason, Cold invited Shen, he's thrilled, thinking she's finally chosen him over Wind. But when he arrives, he sees Wind and nearly chokes with rage. To enter this category, the team needs over 21,000 total points. So Colet invited Shen simply to qualify Wind. Realizing this, Shen furiously yells at Wind for overestimating himself. Remembering how Wind humiliated him in the dungeon, his anger flares even more back at the arena. The commentator introduces the person next to him as the Academy's most hated teacher. The man known as the Dark Serpent, an obsession of countless students. The young man is annoyed, not understanding why he has to sit next to someone so unpleasant. Edward immediately turns to remind his future students to behave before entering his class now. The main event of the day, the Crown Attack category. The Spirit team simultaneously chant, creating separate areas for the competition. The terrain includes volcanoes, lakes, deserts, grasslands, and jungles. Unlike previous events, this one requires teams of 3. Teams start from the outer edge and move toward the central square, where a crown is placed. The team that gets it wins. However, the challenge comes not just from the harsh environment but also from countless traps set by the professors. Teams can take the shortest route to the center and are also allowed to hinder opponents. Therefore, this is considered the festival's most intense competition. Professor Edward adds that this event focuses on practical combat ability and dungeon-conquering skills. Scouts pay special attention to find outstanding candidates. Currently, Wylan of Team 12 and Julius of Team 9 are the centers of attention. Team 6 also draws attention with very low odds, including a promising talent, Shen. And the supposed useless one, Wind. All teams start in the desert area. Seeing Wind at the start, Professor Werkner is shocked and wants to advise him not to be reckless. Despite the ridicule, Wind is determined to win. Unable to persuade him, Werkner lets him choose his own path. As the event begins, teams immediately encounter traps. First is the Golem Forest. The camera shows Wind of Team 6 charging forward and the crowd laughs. In practice tests, he couldn't even scratch a golem, but this time, Wind uses Colet's magic to create two stone fists. Furious, Julius fires 3 large ice arrows to ambush, but fails. Wind even takes down his sticky henchman. He hides in the chaos of magic, then attacks when Julius loses sight. This scene is familiar. Professor Edward fell for the same trick. Now, all of Julius's clones shatter. The reason is that Wind caught him needing teammates to maintain the clones. Julius has only scratched the surface of Elfaria's magic. He's nowhere near the real thing. Moreover, what she wanted was never a successor but a sword to fight by her side. Wind had long realized Julius's ice wasn't perfect. This spell requires intense control, so he must rely on teammates. Exposed as all show, Julius angrily freezes Wind's mouth shut. Currently, Julius can only control for clones at most. Without teammates, they're just fixed artillery. He's confident Wind can't find the real one, yet Wind swings his sword straight at him. Julius panics, raising an ice wall, but still takes a chunk of ice to the stomach. It turns out Wind used temperature to distinguish the real body. Poor control leads to energy leakage, leaving ice fragments like the Frostwalker. Julius can't believe this useless guy understands the spell better than him. Sakanet says he should have picked a better target than Elfaria's best friend. They grew up together in an orphanage, both abandoned. So Wind understands her magic better than anyone. Though he can't keep up, he knows all its strengths and weaknesses. He points out that what Julius was so proud of was created when Elfaria was just 2 years old. It's not perfect and has many flaws. The fact that he's only on par with a 2-year-old shocks Julius. He laughs like a madman and summons 8 clones at once. He can't control them anymore. He just wants to overwhelm Wind with numbers. Wind apologizes for having fought Elfaria one-on-one 10 times since childhood. Furious, Julius throws ice blocks at him. Wind dodges, then takes down the clones one by one. Finally, he lands a massive punch right in Julius's face. This epic upset makes the stands explode. A so-called useless nobody has beaten an elite with over 10,000 points. Rosti is speechless while Iris dances for joy. Professor Werkner finally breathes a sigh of relief. Now no one can stop Wind from touching the crown. But Wylan took the chance during their fight to get ahead. After all the fire and fury, the ultimate winner is Wylan's Team 12. Sejanft informs Elfaria. But for some reason she's trembling, asking if there's a way to change the past or erase someone's memory. It turns out Elfaria never meant to bully Wind. She just wanted to keep him for herself. Who knew her best friend would spill her embarrassing past in public? Saying Julius so thoroughly beaten, Shin is even more determined to beat Wind. Colet is happy Wind is safe, even though they lost. He kept his promise to defeat Julius. Today, Old Man Donald and the dwarfs throw a celebration party. When everyone's a bit tipsy, Wind and Donald still happily clink glasses. He asks if any scouts noticed them. Colet sighs, saying no. Their team not only had internal conflict but didn't achieve any notable result. Donald doesn't see a problem. Wind still won, and they got a proper apology from Julius. Plus, they have a new helper. Not very quick, but better than nothing. While everyone enjoys the party, Professor Werkner is worried. Wind's big splash at the festival might not be a good thing. And as predicted, the next day, many people approach Wind to invite him to join their teams. Just days ago they looked down on him. Now they've all turned faster than a pancake. Colet finally understands what Professor Werkner meant and steps out to scold them. Thinking Wind would be angry, instead he's excited to finally be recognized. Another student realizes Colet just wants Wind for herself and takes his hand, inviting him to explore the dungeon together. Colet quickly joins in, putting her arm around Wind, making excuses about having a date tomorrow. That evening, Colet still doesn't understand why she blurted that out. Jokey gives her a hot cocoa and advises her to prepare well. Just wear a cute outfit and a lie can become truth. Meanwhile, after hearing Wind will go shopping with Colet, Rosti puts on a dangerous face. The conversation reeks of jealousy. The next morning, Colet wears her cutest outfit and waits for Wind at the square. He immediately compliments her outfit and hairstyle, making her thrilled, thinking she'll have a great time with her crush. But then Rosti unexpectedly appears, confusing her. It turns out he suggested shopping together yesterday, and Wind agreed. Not only that, Rosti boldly holds Wind's hand and walks ahead, demoting Colet from romantic lead to sidekick. Every time she tries to get close to Wind, the blonde interloper appears. The whole trip, Colet is a bright light bulb, just watching from afar. Taking a break, she starts suspecting these two might be more than just comrades. Maybe Rosti is a girl in disguise. But Wind says his friend is definitely straight. He's seen his huge sword when they shower together. Sure, Rosti is a bit too affectionate, but he's been that way since they met. Rosti returns and hands Colet a drink, saying he'll share one with Wind. Seeing the tension, Wind excuses himself to get his sword sharpened. As soon as their crush is gone, Colet asks directly. Rusty doesn't beat around the bush, admitting he loves Wind more than anyone. Colet's feelings aren't even worth carrying his shoes. Furious, Colet says she and Wind hung for years ago. But that's nothing compared to Rusty bathing with Wind every night. They argue endlessly, neither giving in. The atmosphere is thick with gunpowder as the battle between two devoted simps officially begins. Wind vaguely guesses something's off but doesn't know he's the cause. Wandering around, Lihanna appears and invites him to a tea house where the top students are waiting. She explains that a comprehensive practical combat program will start in the second semester of the final year. She wants all 5 of them to form a party to conquer Donrian. Shin reacts violently at having a rival here. Julius also doesn't understand Lihanna's intentions. Wind has no idea why she's bringing him to this dangerous place. Just as Shin is about to attack, Wylan creates an illusion of a flower garden to stop him. Amit shouldn't act as crudely as a dwarf. Lihanna explains that Wind performed best at the magic festival. His skills are extremely useful for dungeon conquest, so he's invited. Julius immediately argues that someone who can't use magic would just hold them back. Shin also doesn't want to team with Wind again. Only Wylan remains fair, warning them not to let personal feelings affect the group's benefit. Besides, who would look down on someone who's beaten them before? Wind has dwarven strength and monster-like speed. Though a bit unrefined, his sword has defeated the staves of Shin and Julius. And since the top-ranked Lihanna herself values Wind, there's no reason to refuse a useful asset. Lihanna admits she's just using everyone to get to the tower as a top student. Scouts have already guaranteed her a spot after graduation. However, she feels that as students, they're just unsellable, low-grade goods. Her family has a short lifespan, so she must achieve something notable to prevent its collapse. If everyone thinks this is beneficial, drop a coin in the cup. The three quickly do so, believing the benefits outweigh the risks. Not long after, Wind meets his friends to announce he's joined Lihanna's party. 10 days remain until the comprehensive practical combat. Professor Werkner provides some useful info. Floor 7 to 10 of the dungeon will have their restrictions lifted. Those who can defeat 5th level enemies will earn high points. In this test, students can earn over 1,000 points. Defeating a floor boss gives huge points. Of course, greater rewards come with greater risks. Last year, 4 students were killed by monsters. Teachers are always on standby, but unforeseen events happen. Professor Edward doesn't want students blindly aiming for Magia Vander, but rather iron will and knowing their limits. Colet then joins Lihanna's party with Wind. If Wind is there, Colet is there. Magic engineers only stay at camp, so Rosti prepared many magical items for him. Professor Edward announces the test will last a week. Everyone must survive in Donrian. Teachers will be present to help if students want to retreat. Meanwhile, the Flame Emperor's staff carry it. Hears that the comprehensive practical combat has begun. The Fire Vice says the only one currently suited for the highest position is Kurios. Their king hasn't returned yet, even though the current barrier has disappeared. As the signal sounds, the team immediately sets off. Wylan uses magic to push them forward, then they fall into a deep pit, Wind landing face first. Before he can recover, a swarm of red ants arrives. Majors are weak in close combat, so Wind charges in as a tank. But Lihanna zooms past and unleashes a lightning bolt, wiping out the whole swarm in an instant. From a knight family, she's a rare close combat expert among majors. Lihanna struck first to keep other teams from scoring before the test. Professor Werkner quickly teaches Wind about detection magic, the most important spell for dungeon exploration. Simple but extremely effective. While others constantly kill monsters, Wind does almost nothing because his detection range is too small. If this continues, he'll be dead weight. After a while, he finally kills one. But Wylan only needs 1 wind vortex to wipe out 7. Wylan starts thinking Wind is even weaker than he imagined, doubting Lihanna's decision. Still, Lihanna trusts Wind in her plan. Julius uses his wand to absorb magic from defeated monsters for points. The Academy has a system to confirm if students get enough points. But someone like Wind must physically bring back loot to earn points. So the others are annoyed by the delay. Wind expected this, telling himself to help in other ways. But he never gets a chance because everyone is too strong. A full day has passed since the test began. Lihanna suggests resting. Wylan immediately builds a fire fortress on open ground for safety. Though the fire is just an illusion, its effect is real, keeping nearby monsters away. Wind is tasked with serving food, but when he gets to Wylan, he's bluntly refused. Elves only interact with those they acknowledge. In his eyes, only Lihanna matters. Others are just roadside weeds. Though elves and dwarves are both otherworld races, they're respected for their superior magic. Their pride and racial ego can be annoying, but their talent is undeniable. For example, one of the Magia Vander is the Elf Queen. Lihanna then shares the next plan. Their target is the Flame Nabareth, worth 110 points, a unique monster guarding the 10th floor. Many have challenged it and died. Lihanna formed this team specifically to defeat Nabareth. Instead of wasting time on small fry, they'll take the shortest route to the 10th floor, then face Nabareth while their mana is still high. Meanwhile, two suspicious figures laugh gleefully at the hell they've created for the students. Lihanna's group sees monster corpses scattered on the ground on their way to the 10th floor. They skipped all other zones to get here fastest. No other team could have done this. Wynn's initial assessment: they were torn apart by pure physical force, not magic. They descend into a deep abyss. The dungeon is eerily silent, and the Flame Nabareth itself lies dead. Everyone activates detection and finds the mana hasn't fully dissipated, meaning it was killed recently. Detection is useful but not omnipotent. It can't find hidden traps, invisible mages, or some monsters outside its range. Wynn trusts his intuition and spots an enemy above. Wylan doesn't notice and gets knocked away. The others can't attack before it breaks the ground, sending them falling. Wynn aims for the unconscious Wylan to save him. The tremor reaches Rosti. Wynn and Wylan fall straight to the 11th floor. Wylan's arm is broken. Shin and Julius are trapped together. They're worried because this is a dangerous zone for high-level mages. Lihanna is also injured. She says the Nightmare Gut refers to floors down to 15. The complexity and monster strength here are far beyond previous floors. If they don't regroup quickly, Donrian will swallow them all. In his fever dream, Wylan remembers his painful past, rejected by his own elf tribe for attending Knowledge Academy. Even Queen Eleno calls him a disgrace, unworthy to stand in her ranks. He wakes to see a giant snake head fall next to him. Wind rushes over, but Wylan rudely pushes him away. Despite Wynn's goodwill, the elf tends his own wounds. Wind has only 3 support items left from Rosti. Food and water will last 2 days. In the harsh 11th floor environment, it's really only 24 hours. Wind suggests prioritizing escape to regroup with Colet's team. Wylan wants to wait for rescue but knows if he does nothing he'll die. But the monster's still on the 10th floor. No rescue team will come in time. Meanwhile, Professor Werkner asks Eliza about the lower floors. She says the camp is being destroyed by monster attacks. Other teachers have been killed and beheaded. Hearing this, Werkner suspects someone is behind it all. Edward runs in, demanding an emergency evacuation because all students are in danger. Rosti overhears them. Now Wind and Wylan are wandering the 11th floor. Seeing the constant detection magic, Wind advises saving Mona. The basic rule of detection isn't time but distance. Its minimum range is 140 meters. When Wind has taken to 100 steps, he'll signal Wylan to save energy. Wind and Kiki will handle nearby enemies or those undetectable by magic, while Wylan finds long-range ambushers to minimize fights. What they need now isn't fear of surprise attacks, but to reduce engagements as much as possible. Wylan doesn't understand how Wind stays so calm. It's simple, he's always pushed himself to reach the tower. Over time, Wind learned everything about Donrian, trying every possible survival method. So he has lots of experience. Just then, they sense enemies ahead and behind. Wylan is amazed at Wind's agility even in this dire situation. He suddenly feels inferior, loses focus, and lets a demon approach. He uses illusion fire to stall, but the monster finds him. It pierces the firewall, about to bite Wylan when Wind arrives, slicing it in half. These monsters have no eyes but incredible smell, so illusions are useless. Hearing this, Wylan laughs bitterly, calling himself pathetic, not the elite everyone thinks. He tells Wind he's the only elf still in the academy in his 6th year. While others have moved to the tower, his own kind see him as useless. They can use illusion magic to make imagination reality, as Wind saw at the festival. Wylan can only create meaningless visual tricks, not defeat enemies. Even being in the top 3, he's just unsold inventory. Truly talented people don't even need to graduate before being promoted to the tower. Lihanna is the same. For 6 years, she's only watched the chosen ones from afar. He witnessed a true genius once, a first-year student who rose to become a Magia Vander Elfaria. Before real geniuses, he's worthless. For Wyland, the first taste of despair came from his own tribe's queen, Eleanor, with whom he has a deep relationship. He once swore to always support her, but he realized the gap between them was too wide. Eleanor, an elf with overwhelming power, could create the legendary royal forest from childhood. After a tearful farewell, Wyland has kept trying to stand beside her again, but to no avail. He looks down on mages like Wind to hide his own weakness. In the end, he's just an incompetent elf with a twisted mind. Hearing this, Wind smiles. Feeling a connection, Wyland thinks he's being pitied and tries to shoo him away. But Wind not only stays, he calls Wyland a wonderful elf and swears to protect him to the end. On the other side, Colet understays Lihanna's inferiority compared to those on the tower. But she knows a boy called Useless who still gives his all. So Lihanna shouldn't be sad. She should keep moving forward. The monsters here are completely different, but Wind easily handles them. Wyland is stunned by Wind's skill. He doesn't understand why Wind tries so hard to protect him instead of abandoning him, like his own tribe did. Just then, they hear a strange sound. Wyland uses detection but finds nothing. Wind knows Donrian is spawning more monsters. Suddenly, a giant, disgusting fetus appears in the sky. Wind immediately throws a bomb to stop it, but monsters escape. These are special monsters worth high points. Their bodies are made of fire, making physical attacks useless. They also have high magic resistance. The only thing that can stop them is elf illusion magic. So Wyland must fight to win. Wind charges, dodging attacks and delivering rapid slashes. Seeing the sword useless, Wyland stands and uses illusion magic, but fails. And Wind has to shield him. At the critical moment, Kiki appears, raising a barrier to stall the enemy. Wind reassures Wyland that his efforts have never been meaningless and believes he can do it. Those words touch Wyland's heart. He didn't think anyone would still believe in him after his own tribe abandoned him. Determined to overcome the past, Wyland stands and successfully uses illusion magic to defeat all the monsters. After the battle, Wyland kneels before Wind, apologizing for his past rudeness. They shake hands, becoming sworn brothers. Sion and Julius still have plenty of energy, arguing loudly. Lately, Shen's magic has improved, making him arrogant, and Julius is fed up. Then Shen suddenly pulls Julius into a corner. There are so many sentinels that even detection can't find them all. Even for the Nightmare Gut, this is too many. Shen suggests Julius use clones as decoys. Despite being told to retreat, Shen wants to burn them all to ash. Upstairs, students are running from evil sentinels. Luckily, Professor Edward appears in time to destroy them all. After herding students to the 6th floor, Edward and Werkner fly away on a dragon. Most students have evacuated, leaving only Lihanna's group trapped inside. Edward fears finding them in the vast 10th floor. But Werkner knows they're on the 11th through Kiki's crystal. On the way, Colet follows their trail. Lihanna has kept them alive through many ambushes, but they're reaching their limit. Lihanna feels terrible for endangering everyone with her ambition. Colet disagrees. It's the 10th floor monster's fault. Wind's group finds Shen and Julius, who together have finished off the sentinels. Now they realize the girls aren't with them. Worse, they're in unknown danger. Lihanna holds Colet back from approaching Professor Bruno, because the headless man is just borrowing it. He cheerfully welcomes the two beauties, but his comrade yells at him for coming down here instead of doing his job upstairs. The headless one blames Duck for breaking the 10th floor, making them fall. Their goal is to break the fake sky. He wants to add to more heads to his collection. Just then, Wind blocks them, landing a blow. The headless one is thrilled at so many cute heads to choose from. Wind tries to hold him, but the guy is too strong, sending him flying with one hit. Before they can really fight, the headless one is dragged away by his comrade. Before disappearing, he uses a secret spell to teleport the 10th floor monster Duck here. Duck is worth 270 points. It opens its mouth and unleashes a wave of power, destroying everything around. Knowing they can't face it directly, the group runs for their lives. Wylan stays behind to use illusion magic, but it lasts only seconds before breaking. Wind turns back, pulling him away just as Duck's attack collapses the path. Colet is stunned by its power. Wind remembers his academy books. Duck is a high-level monster usually found on the 25th floor. Lihanna suspects its appearance is linked to the mysterious group earlier. Below, even an evil sentinel swarm, following orders to hunt them. Fear of death has exhausted everyone, physically and mentally. Despair crushes their hearts. With no other choice, they must fight. If they can defeat Duck, its control over the other monsters will vanish. But Julius objects, thinking it's impossible. Wylan and the others trust Wind. Lihanna officially names Wind their new leader. In this desperate situation, only Wind hasn't given up. Hearing this, Wind promises to be their pillar, bringing everyone home safely. Only Julius still hesitates. Wind's initial plan indeed can't win. But with Julius's power and Elfaria's secret technique, there's still a chance. After hearing the plan, Julius takes his position. Duck immediately attacks, but only destroys clones. Meanwhile, other clones keep chanting. Normally, magic is interrupted if the chant stops. But Elfaria's amazing spell allows continuing from the interruption point. So even if one clone is destroyed, others can continue, helping Julius complete high-level magic that normally takes a long time. Julius charges into the battlefield to finish the final chant. The others outside give their all. Still, Duck is barely scratched. It even grows steel wings, nearly impenetrable. So while Julius finishes, they must distract it. When complete, Julius unleashes his ultimate, a linked ice cannon. But Duck is no ordinary foe. It withstands the attack. Though not heavily damaged, the cannon slows its wings. Lihanna charges, trying to hit the weak point through a gap. But Duck is protected by a distant barrier likely placed by the two enemy mages earlier. Wind catches Lihanna but is hit by backlash, shattering his glasses. The two professors watching grow anxious. Workner doesn't understand how Duck appeared on the 11th floor. No time to think. Edward urges them to fly faster to save the students. Wind stands frozen, his glasses shattered on the ground. Duck breaks the surrounding ice. Lihanna orders everyone to retreat with Wind, even if she must sacrifice herself. She hold it off. Colet tries to stop her, but Lihanna won't budge. Her family was born to be shields for others. Wylan also wants to fight beside Lihanna. Beside her, he's found another person he truly respects. They charge at Duck together. Wylan uses his forest to restrain it, letting Lihanna bombard it with magic. The others are in agony. At this rate, Lihanna and Wylan will surely die. Wind lies trembling on the ground, his broken glasses unleashing uncontrollable fear. Shen finds it both pathetic and infuriating. Wind was the one who gave them hope, and now look at him. Shen punches Wind repeatedly. But that's what makes Wind stand up again. Unlike others who attack with staves, Wind uses a sword to get close to enemies far stronger. No one can imagine how terrifying that is. So before and now, Wind is always scared. He's a coward, but no matter how pathetic, he never runs away. That's courage. Colet chooses to stay and fight with Wind. Shin is still processing her words. Wind now must dodge cannon fire while thinking of a way to cut Duck's steel wings. Colet appears, throwing rocks at the monster to buy him time. But Duck gives him no rest. Taking hits without his glasses terrifies Wind, but losing friends is far scarier. Wind calls Colet's name, his eyes full of determination. Countless cannon shots fly toward them. Without Kiki, a direct hit would be instant death. But Wind now sees their trajectory. He drops his sword and jumps high. Colet quickly chants, creating a new sword for Wind, who slices off one of Duck's wings. Suddenly, Shen arrives on his Fire Phoenix. But no matter how many high-level spells he throws, he can't defeat it. Staff can't win, sword can't win, what can? Then Wind picks up a crystal shard, and a distant memory of staff and sword flashes in his mind. He grabs his sword and tells Shin to fire magic at it. Wind's vision is red, power surging through his body. He charges fearlessly and cleaves the monster in two. After this, no one will call him useless again. The others stare in disbelief as Duck shatters. Wind collapses. His sword returns to normal. He doesn't understand what just happened. Just then, a legion of sentinels and other monsters swarm in. Everyone is exhausted, unable to fight. Julius is about to be attacked when a staff suddenly plants itself in the ground. A brilliant energy surge spreads, destroying all the monsters. As the smoke clears, a group in white appears. Their leader holds a staff, his overwhelming presence revealing his identity: Aaron, the king of the Magia Vander. They've just returned from a deep floor expedition and stopped to help. Aaron steps forward, blessing those who survived Donrian's darkness, praising Wind's group for making it. All the majors kneel in awe and respect. But Wind's eyes stop on a small boy in the group. He approaches, surprised the sword is still alive, asks Wind's name, and introduces himself as Phil. Meanwhile, the villains have also achieved their goal, retrieving the needed sword for their next plan. The incident forces the test to end early. A total of 11 people died, all academy teachers. Miraculously, no students died, thanks to the remaining teachers' efforts. Rest warrants have been issued based on witness testimony, but no leads yet. A dark, heavy atmosphere covers the academy. In the infirmary, Shin asks who those weirdos were. Julius admits that without the Holy Light staff, they'd all be dead. Lihanna blames herself for not fulfilling her nightly duty. But this experience has given her a new perspective on her team. Her stomach growls and Colet feeds her fruit. She thanks Wind. Without him, they'd all be dead. Wind is humble, but Julius dismisses his role, saying he was just a burden. Colet shoves an apple in his mouth. Shin demands to know what that power was that could absorb his magic. Colet felt it was so vivid and strong it took her breath away. Julius coughs, scolding Wind for having an ace and not telling them, putting everyone in danger. Before he finishes, Kiki jumps on him for bad-mouthing his master. The truth is, Wind himself doesn't know what it is, so he can't explain. Colet thinks Professor Werkner might know, so they should ask. Wind also wants to ask about the boy with Aaron's expedition. Lihanna knows he's from the Phil tribe, a small race that can't use magic. But they've accumulated alchemical knowledge over generations. They contracted as guides to explore the dungeon. That evening, Phil visits the principal, saying they reached the 49th floor. He brings a gift, a sword called the Myth Killer. Phil says they encountered some suspicious people on the 40th floor and fought them. About 20 high-level mages died. This sword isn't natural to Donrian. It was likely synthesized from deep floor materials. Phil will investigate as Aaron asked, leaving the analysis to the principal. Then Phil gets to his main point. Wind staves are managed by the school. Swords belong to Phil's jurisdiction, but he received no notice about Wind. Charon explains Wind is a student. More importantly, his heart is drawn to the staff and he dreams of becoming a Magia Vander. Never before has a sword wanted to become a staff. That's why the principal thinks this will be an unprecedented explosion. Since Carol wants it, Phil doesn't mind leaving Wind here longer but says he'll now be involved. As for the male lead, he's still passionately training, leaving Cole speechless. Julius is impressed, saying this guy must be a dwarf. No mage works this hard. The others admire him, while Shin, in a fit of childishness, challenges him to a fight. Wind accepts, wanting to finish their unfinished battle from the festival. But when Professor Werkner catches them fighting, they all scatter. After everything, each person has their own thoughts about the future. 2 months fly by. Many might still be recovering, but that's no excuse to delay. The school year is ending, the final exam for 6 years. The graduation test begins. Wind is determined, burying himself in studying, hoping to see his crush soon. When theory scores are announced, All the teachers are shocked. Wind got a perfect score. Even if it's temporary, not even Lihanna achieved this. This could be the first time a so-called useless person enters the tower. Professor Werkner is happy for his student. But one final test remains, so he's still worried. Wind is still studying for tomorrow's last day. He thanks Lihanna's team for helping defeat Nabarus and get all his combat points. For practice points, he scraped 5 from his duel with Professor Edward. Now, Wind needs just one more point tomorrow to climb the tower. Rosti sees his friend's hair turning white from stress and plucks a white strand. Colet objects, wanting to do it herself but not getting the chance. Meanwhile, the fire and ice duo are praised by the principal for their performance against Nabarus. Julius says he was just dragged along by Colet. He already had enough points. Shin mocks him for being overconfident. They start arguing, leaving the principal speechless. The top 2 students are also excited to have secured points for the tower after the test with Shin's group, though it seems redundant since they already defeated Duck. Wylan notes that Lihanna has softened a lot compared to before, and the elf himself has shed his prickly exterior. All these changes happened after their dungeon adventure with Wind. His unyielding fighting spirit has become a magic called courage. Late into the night, Kalia brings snacks to her hardworking friend. Seeing his tempting sleeping lips, she leans in for a kiss. But it's not that easy. Rosti successfully sabotages her. Caught, Colet awkwardly claims she's just really worried about Wind. He's pushing himself too hard. Colet admits she hates the Magia Vander. While Wind chases after her, that girl just sits at the tower doing nothing. Even Rosti agrees. At the same time, Elfaria is also in a bad mood. Elino approaches, mocking her for finally coming out of her room. Elfie asks if she's still bitter about losing to her in magic. The short-tempered Rio arrives, telling the rude girls to get out of his way. They're here to prepare for the Terminalia ceremony. The sky barrier is about to disappear, so they hope some talented kids appear. The next morning, the final test begins, proctored by Professor Edward. Just hearing his name makes everyone lose spirit, hearts pounding, legs shaking. And true to form, Edward announces there's only one question. Anyone who answers correctly gets 6 points. Otherwise, pack up and go home. The question is simple: what is magic? Using the given words earth, connection, and incantation based on their magical attribute. Students must answer. It's an essay question about activation conditions, something every MIGS does unconsciously daily. But putting it into words is extremely difficult. This question is a direct blow to Wind, as all his theories are useless. Personal experience can't be taught or learned from textbooks. Someone who can't use magic has no right to answer. Wind looks at the question in despair. His promise to Elfie might end here, but he won't give up. For Wind, magic is aspiration, a miracle unreachable even without stretched hands. It's beautiful but also cruel. Magic is at the end of effort. If he never gives up, Wind believes he'll have power far surpassing magic. By the end of the day, Werkner grabs Edward by the collar for making the question too hard. Though Edward says over 40% of students answered wrong, Werkner still disagrees. Edward honestly doesn't understand why the faculty keeps trying to send a magicless person to the tower. In that graveyard of staves, what can he do? In this magical world, a sword can never replace a staff. He thinks Werkner and the principal are insane and wants to end this fantasy now. Wind's confirmed score, 7,199 points, just one short. He's disqualified from the tower list. Wind thinks Professor Edward was right. How could he possibly answer that? He apologizes to Elfie for breaking his promise. Rosti comforts him, saying he'll always be by his side. Others frantically search for Wind. Julius sneers that a loser running away this time of year isn't new. Wylan warns the loudmouth not to insult his friend. Julius yells that magic is everything in this world. No matter how skilled in the dungeon, a sword has no place. As they argue, Professor Werkner arrives, telling them to go home and let him find Wind. It's the last day of the year, so set aside worries and enjoy. A while later, New Year's fireworks bloom in the sky. Today, the greatest festival and most important ritual will take place at Legarden. The host, born in a coal mine, talks about her single life and even yells at her to friends. Werkner and Edward live on air. Then she gets serious, introducing this year's Terminalia. The ritual renews the Great Sky Barrier. Long ago, humans didn't know the sky. This world was covered in darkness. The entire continent was destroyed by sky invaders. Countless lives were lost, but just as despair spread under the first magic ancestor Mercedes, 5 great mages sealed the sky and drove away the invaders. This event happened over 500 years ago, and the Great Barrier still exists today. The barrier lasts 1 year, so every New Year's, a new one is erected. If it disappears, the destruction legend will come true. With everything safe, the 5 current Magia Vander take their positions. The Sky Invaders still target this world. No matter how many times they fall, humans must hold up the sky. All the mages below raise their wands, supporting the 5 as they cast Terminalia. When the new barrier is complete, fireworks fill the sky. But their joy is short-lived. The Headless Man's spell appears. Countless magic circles summon a legion of monsters. They destroy everything, turning the space below into a sea of fire. Taking advantage of the weakened Magia Vander, the 2 villains begin their hellish party, slaughtering festival goers. Wind sees the teleportation gate and recognizes it from the 11th floor. The monsters are Denabros from deep floors. The MC flies down, using magic to create guards. The tower mages below quickly use fire magic to incinerate the monsters. These are high-level mages, very professional. But one monster survives the barrage. A fire mage tries to finish it but is cut in two. Not because he's weak, but because the Denabros wields a much killer sword that nullifies magic. The monster advance doesn't stop, causing heavy losses to the tower guard. The principal realizes the much killer swords are being mass-produced. The perfectly timed attack on Terminalia is to coordinate it to be individuals. She knows the city army is just a diversion, so she sends people to protect the tower. Leader Aaron knows this too. Maintaining the barrier exhausted all 5 Magia Vander. The enemy clearly targeted their weakest moment. The blind old man suggests sending reinforcements, but Aaron silences him. Aaron forbids any Magia Vander from leaving the tower. If a staff breaks, the Great Barrier is lost. The Sky Invaders would descend, turning this world into hell, not seeing any Magia Vander. The villains are annoyed. They laid such a tempting trap, yet no one came. Iris, watching the chaos, nearly breaks down. Seeing a mother and child in danger, she wants to help, but her magic is useless. Just then, Wind appears, slicing off the monster's arm. Though still upset about his unfair treatment, Wind never wanted this to happen. He tells himself not to be afraid. People's lives are at stake. Rosti runs out, telling Wind to focus on monsters with weapons. Mages can handle the rest. Wind charges, going toe-to-toe, giving his all and cuts the monster in half. Iris believes in Wind's power, but the numbers are overwhelming. Instead of fighting, Aaron orders Iris to mobilize the dwarves and gives her command to stabilize the battlefield. From now on, dwarves may fight alongside mages to clear the monsters. Werkner runs to the tavern for help. Annoyed, they still agree to support Wind's group. Professor Edward also takes command, telling students to form up and hold the enemy, to become staves protecting the people. But seeing high-level mages defeated, they doubt they can do anything. Lihanna fights multiple Denabros alone. One holds a sword, making her wary. She doesn't know its power, but a moment's carelessness could be fatal. She can't handle it alone and needs teammates. But they're also struggling with sword-wielding monsters. Instead of reckless attacks, they use magic to control them. Each time a spell breaks, the monsters pause slightly. Exploiting that, they corrode them. Colet reluctantly uses earth magic to collapse a sacred statue, crushing the monsters. They discover that objects without mana aren't nullified. Lihanna uses this to plan more effectively. The MC praises this year's students' adaptability. She orders earth mages to form up. The guard retreats to support the dwarves. Their clear goal: protect the Magia Vander's residence at all costs. The villain is frustrated by Aaron's clever handling. They earlier run in with the expedition, exposing their secret, bringing dwarves into battle. And the quick reactions of some mages were all unexpected. If the High Council analyzes the sword and finds a counter, their plan collapses. Still, they're not backing down, unleashing their trump card. A monster head emerges from the Black Gate. Spotting Wind, it punches him through buildings. Its power is far beyond the other monsters. Meanwhile, Phil is still tracking the sword makers. Unfortunately, it's a trap to lure him into the dungeon and cause chaos above. Seeing Wind still struggling, the monster swings its sword, making him work hard to block. This is the infamous 40th floor monster, known to have killed several previous Magia Vander. The villains sacrificed 50 people to bring it through the gate. Worth it to them. Wind knows its power and just wants to escape. But the monster attacks anyone in sight, so he can't ignore it. Just when he's about to die, Old Man Donald rams the monster. Other dwarves arrive to help. With Eris's command, the battle is turning in humanity's favor. But it's all according to the villain's plan. They let weak monsters die, funneling their mana to the one-eyed boss. The more it absorbs, the stronger it gets. The dwarves try to stop it, but the villain blocks them. After absorbing a ton of mana, the boss transforms. Its wings grow sharp spines, and it flies at the dwarves. The villain laughs in triumph. Their carefully laid plan has created a monster that can kill Magia Vander. Neither mages nor dwarves can touch it. In this despair, Wind hopes for his previous power surge. But as he tries with Rosti, the monster suddenly appears, cutting off Rosti's arm. Saying this, Wind's rage explodes. He charges the boss head-on. But the power gap is too wide. His defeat is only a matter of time. Below, Rosti sends Kiki to Colet, saying he'll stay to protect Wind. He's not afraid of death. He accepted his fate long ago. For the first time, Wind feels this helpless against an enemy. Every trick seems meaningless before absolute power. Just as Wind gives up, Rosti appears, saving his life. Even if it costs everything, Rosti will stay by his friend. And then Rosti disappears. The friend Wind always cherished is gone forever. In that moment, Wind is consumed by pain. He screams in despair, and Professor Werkner arrives just in time to save him. The young man calls his friend's name, then is taken elsewhere to the tower's peak. Rio realizes they can't stay still and decides to act. Carrillo stops him, saying those below are weak, but he still doesn't want to watch them die. Carrillo repeats Aaron's words: if a Magia Vander falls, the barrier disappears. The Sky Invaders will burn this world to ash. Besides, they're too exhausted. Fighting would be worse. Rio is hot-headed and walks away despite warnings. Eleno just watches. This is just imagination after all. But when she sees Wyland on the battlefield, she can't help but send subordinates to support. The ground battle is desperate. Elfaria approaches Aaron, demanding he retract his order. Her cold, unwavering gaze freezes the room as she declares she will save her important person. It's Aaron blocks her, don't blame her. Werkner is panicking. The defense has completely collapsed. The remaining monsters overwhelm the mages, even the dwarves are near their limit. The only hope is Wind, but he's lost in despair, blaming his own uselessness. Everything started because he can't use magic. His tearful screams move the teacher. Distracted, they don't notice the enemy approaching. The villain thinks Wind is more dangerous than the dwarves and wants to finish him immediately. Below, Wind's friends are helpless. Colet sees Kiki injured and fears the worst, asking him to lead her to Wind. Shin follows, asking Julius and the others to hold on. The headless villain enjoys slaughtering civilians. Their screams are music to him. The powerful monster now heads straight for the tower. The MC chases to stop it, as this thing could kill a Magia Vander. But she's no match. Below, Edward orders the dwarves to fight to the death, to destroy the Mage Killer swords at all costs. Donald's group is already beaten. Sending them to their death is cruel. Edward coldly says for the capital and the children they must sacrifice. Just then, a monster targets Gina and Edward throws himself in the way. Despite his harsh words, he knows what he must do. When magic is useless, Edward's life is worth less than a dwarf's if a price must be paid. He's ready, asking them to entrust their lives to him. Gina angrily gathers everyone, heading to the city center. On the way, Colet faces a sword-wielding monster. She attacks, but freezes at the critical moment, making her teammates scream in worry. The Eastern Mage army is completely wiped out. Some groups still fight, evacuating civilians south. Still, many know the outcome is grim when mages are so countered. Luckily, Eliza arrives to save them, forced to fight recklessly for her beloved students. The principal keeps losing contact with Edward and Werkner. The situation is beyond dire. Just protecting civilians is exhausting. Now Phil appears. He asks Cyrus where the sword is. The villain, Mar, praises Werkner for counterattacking despite the ambush. Wind is stable after being dropped. Werkner is happy to protect his student, but the price is a hole in his stomach. He apologizes, saying he can only rely on Wind now. Surely he can create a miracle. Wind thinks it's impossible. He's always being saved. At the critical moment, he can't do anything in return. How can one sword change this world? Werkner smiles, revealing that Wind can actually use magic, a magic that brings hope to everyone. Then he lets go, not saying what it is. Phil appears, explaining that Wind's magic is a platinum light that can cut anything. The teacher can still be saved. Once his heartbeat recovers, he'll wake up. The important thing is, how long will Wind just sit there? The stage is set. Now he just needs to confidently use his will. Phil shouts, "Those who can't change themselves can't change the world." He drops blood on the sword, letting Wind see the answer. The male lead stands, raises his sword, and yells, "My magic is courage." His hair turns white as he breaks all limits. Wind cuts through monsters, making them vanish. His speed is now far beyond sight, shocking his friends. At the tower, Elfaria is overjoyed to see her crush like this. Shin protects Colet with determined eyes, refusing to give up no matter the danger. If Wind won't run, neither can he. Wind flashes forward. He's always been jealous of Shin but also admired him. Now he arrives in time to block the boss's attack. Long ago, when the tower was first completed, Phil saw it as a symbol of hope. But to the hooded woman, it's a doomsday clock. Sealing the staircase to the sky bought them time before the invaders destroy the world. This woman is none other than the great Mitch Mercedes. She gave Phil a child and told him to find a sword while she would find a wooden staff. This was all Phil's idea. Mercedes' goal was to create someone who could use the fifth element, the key to world creation. Despite many obstacles, Phil finally waited for this day. He doesn't know if this is the start of a miracle or a tragedy. He really wants to know how his contract with the Magic Queen will end. When Wind appears transformed, everyone is stunned by his power. In this state, he easily slices the boss with one blow, sending it flying toward the principal. Without hesitation, she uses magic to stop it from entering the academy. Instead of evacuating, she stays to witness Wind's new power. Their clash causes a huge explosion. The shockwave is felt by everyone. Wind's friends, though exhausted, rush to help. Edward can hardly believe it, but Wind is really fighting the monster one-on-one. The spectacle even amazes the Magia Vander. Elfaria is captivated by her crush's coolness. Wind is now evenly matched with a monster he never dared face before. Edward passes by, not surprised to see the girl still alive. Students want to help but fear getting in the way. If they hit the wrong target, they'd all be doomed. Never have they felt such humiliation. The supposed useless one is fighting alone below, even saving them from terrifying monsters. Even Shen, who hated Wind, is now cheering. Hearing that, everyone else chants, telling him not to lose. They all unite, cheering for Wind, believing he will win. Despite his injury, Edward wants to fight the boss. The girl advises trusting his student. Now Wind has the entire magical world cheering for him. All their trust and hope are focused on the one once called useless. Wind once hated this world for what he endured: mockery, isolation. But deep down, he always craves recognition. Even if these cheers are only here and now, Wind keeps fighting with all his strength. Then his sword shatters, unable to withstand his power. No matter how strong, without a weapon, the balance is broken. Seeing Wind in danger, Elfaria acts immediately. Despite warnings, she steps onto the balcony. She says she won't interfere but accidentally drops an ice sword for Wind. He smiles, understanding her heart. He charges it with mana, summoning an ice sword. Everyone recognizes this power from his battle with Jondik in the dungeon. Wind can absorb magic impressively, but magic is useless against this thing. Still, Wind trusts the orb containing a part of Elfaria's power and unstoppable force. With Wind Swing, he easily cuts off the boss's arm. The attack breaks all the rules of the Mage Killer. The villain Mar is furious, not understanding how this guy has such strange power. What Wind is using is the power of the fifth element, the key to world creation recorded in legend. Aaron recognizes it as the power the Magic Queen entrusted to staff and sword. After immobilizing it, Wind closes in and lands multiple blows. It counterattacks furiously, but all are nullified. His overwhelming power amazes all who witness it. In that moment, everyone sees Elfaria fighting alongside Wind. The villains have no choice but to summon dozens of weak monsters to swarm him. But now, they're no match. Combining Elfaria's power, Wind unleashes the seventh magic. In an instant, he creates a giant ice cathedral. Within its range, all monsters are impaled by ice spikes, shattering before they know what hit them. Witnessing such overwhelming power terrifies everyone. Facing the enraged, cornered boss, Wind calmly extends his blade and charges for the final blow. A powerful slash cleaves the monster in two, then freezes it completely. As the cathedral vanishes, the monster shatters into a million ice shards, and everyone erupts in joy. They all breathe sighs of relief after that tense victory. Wind brought the light of hope, opening a bright future for all. The final hope Phil waited for has become reality. A 500-year chapter finally closes here. The fake sky curtain is about to be lifted. From this moment, a new era begins where staff and sword unite to create your Victoria.